A lot of people have asked me, what does effective learning look like online? What does effective research-based strategies and tools that you can use to learn at a distance on the web more effectively? And I want to run through 4 key ideas. The first is motivation. What we know about online learning is that it's easy to lose motivation. That learning at a distance, it's just a lot easier to lose interest, to lose that sense of value. So what can you do? One is goal setting. Setting clear goals about what you're going to learn from your online course. I like to talk about the 2 A's when it comes to goal setting. One, that they should be actionable, so students really know how to do them, that learners really know what to do. And they should be accountable, that you have some way to know, to keep track of those goals. Another thing that's really important when it comes to online learning and motivation is value. Seeing clear value from that work, from that class or course that you're taking. What does that value look like? Oftentimes it can be quite clear if you're taking a certain course so you can get more money or move ahead, and that value is clear. Oftentimes though, we're taking courses where the value isn't totally clear, and then you have to draw that value for yourself. We write about that a lot of resources out there, but the really key takeaway here, this point number 1, is motivation is really important when it comes to online learning. That you need to make sure you know how to motivate yourself, how to motivate others to keep on learning. Second really important takeaway is that online learning needs to be active. I talk about this a lot, and when it comes to active forms of learning, it's not project-based forms of learning. It's engaging in things like retrieval practice, quizzing yourself, testing yourself, brain dumps, these things that make our learning more cognitively engaging, what Bob Bjork calls desirable difficulties. This helps us see bigger concepts. It also makes sure that our memory is functioning effectively. When it comes to online learning, though, many of the classes that are out there are very passive. It's a lecture and maybe at best a couple of quiz questions. But research by Ken Kading and others show that those forms of learning are much less effective. And instead, we need those types of programs, courses, tools that are really going to push us. What does that look like in practice? Simulations can be a great way to make learning more active. And when you're looking for a course, teaching a course, think about simulations. Second, what can you do to include quizzes, low stakes tests, retrieval practice, brain dumps, these types of more active forms of learning that draw on retrieval practice, these types of things that we know are really effective. So again, when you're thinking about learning online, make sure that you're looking for forms of active learning. Make sure that you stay away from those courses that are very passive, that just have a simple lecture, but instead also have quizzes, essay questions, engagement with the instructor, with other students. Really important for online learning. The third aspect when you're looking to learn online is social. We know that social is really important in learning education overall. One of the best predictors of someone's college major is their roommate's college major, right? If your college roommate is always getting up early in the morning to take a class, a med school class, you're like, hey, maybe I should become a doctor too. This is just the fact that we as humans are very social beings. Being online, as we all know, in Zoom, in Google Hangouts, you don't feel that social. So how can you replicate that form of social learning online? Some courses, like what we have active Facebook groups. They can be great. Another wonderful tool is teaming up with a friend, take that course together. One of the important things about being online and having a more social aspect is that you also learn from the way other people are talking, the way other people are thinking. So some very concrete takeaways here is join an online course with a friend. Encourage students, if you have them, to engage with one another so that they're working together on projects, so they have someone else to talk to, that they're discussing some of these really bigger points in thoughtful ways. The fourth point that I really want to make around online learning that I think is incredibly important is tutoring. and specifically online forms of tutoring. I've talked a lot about how tutoring is one of those really effective forms of learning, and that the bigger question in education often is, how can we scale effective tutoring? Well, one way to scale effective tutoring is to go online. Seen a lot of companies filling into this space, going online to deliver effective tutoring. And there are, though, a few key points that you should keep in mind. One, when you find an effective tutor, like finding an effective instructor, you should look for someone who knows their stuff but also knows how to teach, that they can explain those ideas in a robust way. Should also, when you look online, and there are lots of apps and tools on there, we list them in the course, we list them online, lots of places out there, but ask for 1 or 2 initial sessions. Most instructors offer those, and it just allows you to get a sense of, are you going to work well together? Is that really social aspect going to be there? And this gives you a chance to interview someone. You can do this for your own students. You can do this with tutors, just making sure that you have that good social engagement. And the thing about tutoring is that you want to make sure that it is actual tutoring, that there is that one-on-one time for someone to explain that topic, to keep you socially engaged. Really an important way of making sure you have that rich sense of understanding that we know works when it comes to learning. So again, to recap, when you're learning online, it isn't that different than learning in a brick and mortar or in a classroom. Your brain is your brain. It is going to learn in the same way that it always does. But when we learn online, there are a couple of things that you really need to keep in mind. One is that issue of motivation, making sure that you're setting goals, that you're not getting distracted, that you see real value in the material. And you can do that by being very clear, very focused about how you're going to learn, and use all those tools that we talked about keeping up that motivation. Second, more active forms of learning. And when we talk about active, it is not running around. It is about using things like quizzes, simulations, essays, these types of forms of learning that are going to be far more effective. Third, we talked about that social aspect of learning. Really important that you have other people that you can engage with, other people that you can work with to make that learning more effective. And finally, when we think about really effective forms of online learning, I'd really recommend tutoring. There are cheap ways to do it, just hiring someone, even someone abroad, where you can get them for $10, $20, or find experts like Wyzant, lots of other sites out there that offer these types of experts. But make sure that you're getting experts who really know their stuff, so they're not just explaining the material, but they know how to explain that material, how to motivate students. And so you're drawing on that real social aspect of learning. Other questions, just hit the comments. Happy to help and answer in any way. And then there's also a lot of resources that we have that we'll be linking to so you can really gain the most of this material. Thanks.